Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Del. I'm back with another definitive broadcast. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button. But today I'm going to be breaking down interdimensional and outer dimensional extraterrestrials that come from different star systems. We're going to be talking about how it correlates to Hollow Earth and how it also correlates to the magnetic pole shift that's going to happen before 2030. But first, we're going to start out with the Draconian Reptilians, because I'm going to be breaking down an amalgamation of different extraterrestrial species on the planet. So first, we're going to start out with the Draconian Reptilians. So one thing when you're talking about the Draconian Reptilians, they're basically the personification of the Archons, right? They're basically the personification of the Archons. And then the Archons is basically connected to the Demi Urge. So the Demi Urge and the Archons is basically in alignment to Draconian Reptilians. So when you're talking about the concept of God, this is why you got to get this book right here. It says it's God and Extraterrestrial, right? So when you break down the etymological roots of the word God, it means governmental ordinance departments, because God, Draconian Reptilians, control the three-dimensional world through the political system, through religion, and through economics. And that is basically predicated around deception and an illusion, which is the foundation of a Luciferian society, because it creates an inversion. And when you create an inversion, you're basically going against nature. And when you're going against nature, you're going against the Most High, because there's a dichotomy between the word God and the word Most High. So when you're talking about Most High, you're talking about Elion El, who is Anu, who is the head of the Anunnaki. So when you're talking about God, you're talking about this being right here. That's why when you look on a dollar, they have a veneration for greed in that concept right there. So now, when we break down the metaphysical aspects of and the mystics of Gnosticism, right? So when you're talking about the Demi Urge, where's it at? So when you're talking about the Demi Urge, it says the Demi Urge creates the physical universe and the physical aspect of humanity. That is meaning that is controlled by the electrical grid node on the planet that creates third density, the three-dimensional world, because everything in the three-dimensional world is an illusion. And that's how they control you, through your subconscious mind that creates mental subjugation, to where they can basically control you through sound wave frequency that puts you under the sleep spell of Leviathan, right? That's controlled by the moon, because the moon is an artificial megastructure in a celestial body that usurps energy from the sun to give power, because the moon is not what you think it is, because the original moon died 23 billion years ago. So that moon that you see in our solar system is basically a Draconian mothership, and that Draconian mothership is what controls the three-dimensional world through materialism and many different forms of the illusions that we're subjugated by today. So now, when you go to the inferiority concept of the Demi Urge's creation, is predicated around technological inferiority complex. So now that also correlates to the fact that the Archons is basically in alignment to the Draconian Reptilians, because the Demi Urge is what created the Draconian Reptilians, right? So you got to go to Gnosticism when you want to understand the dynamics of the inception of Draconians and things of that nature, right? So there's many different forms of Draconian Reptilians. Not all Draconian Reptilians are bad. So you got the Nomos, they're basically Draconian Reptilians, but they're basically part of the sub-branch of the Anunnaki, right? Because you got many different types. You got the Yahwehans, then you got Nubarians, you got the Syrians, you got the Elohim, you got the Anunnaki, you got the Igigi, you got many different types of forms of Anunnaki. But the reptilian species of it are the Nomos, which are basically benevolent creatures that was created by that's basically part of the Anunnaki. Then you got other types of forms of reptilians when you're talking about gargoyles and things of that nature. So now I'm going to show you a picture. So when you get like sleep paralysis and things of that nature, they show you there's always a reptilian gargoyle that sits on the chest, right? Because, you know, reptilians are able to materialize and dematerialize through obsidian energy. So that's why sometimes when you're in a state of sleep paralysis, when you your brain is in the theta state, that's why sometimes you can see shadowy figures, or you will actually see like an archon or a jinn or a demon or a draconian. You will basically see these primordial entities. You will see them because, like I said, they're able to dematerialize in the three-dimensional world, right? So, which is one of the reasons why they are gatekeepers for churches. When you look at these churches, you see the depictions of draconians. When you look at these cathedrals, when you look at these government buildings, because I told you everything in a three-dimensional world is basically galvanized by draconian reptilians that's based around a draconian law, which is the foundation of Luciferianism. And Luciferianism is the inversion, right? So that's why the draconian system, their churches goes against spirituality. Their education system goes against real knowledge and real history. And the pharmaceutical industry, you know what I'm saying, goes against your health. So everything is an inversion in this world because it puts you in a perpetual state of fear. And that perpetual state of fear is the opposite of love, because fear is a precursor to hate. So that's why everything in the system is connected to eugenics. So if they, in return, through their system to get you to hate yourself, they could usurp your genetics for genetical self-preservation when you have a pole shift that's going to happen by 2030, right? So now we're going to keep going. So we got these figures out the way. You got other types of, you know, draconian reptilians, right? So like I said, this is particularly common, the world leaders in politics and banking systems, the military, you know, law enforcement and things of that nature. And these pictures was basically illustrated by Clive Burrows, right? Because he understands the concept of, you know, the shadow figures and reptilians are able to transmute out of the three-dimensional world. That's why you cannot see reptilians, because you can only see 10% of the electromagnetic spectrum, right? Which gives you the illusion of physical matter that puts the God gene, the God gland, in a state of calcification through frequency, right? Because that's why everything in a system is unnatural, because it's to keep you operating outside of your spiritual capacity. So I'm going to show you a video here. And this guy's going to be breaking down the concept of Draconian reptilians.
The kids being killed, that reptilians and Draco, you know, the blood sacrifices, the whole Luciferian thing, the kids being killed and eaten. I mean, that humans have been eaten and taken off planet, et cetera, and used for slaves in other colonies, et cetera.
I hate to say that, but that's far worse than what you just said.
It's far worse.
Yes, far worse. And that the whole blood situation is it's unbelievable. And
right.
I don't know how we say that to the public. I don't know. To me, if we get into that, and I know all about it, okay?
All right.
Far more than you know.
Sure.
All right.
I'm sure.
When we get into that, if we release it, 70, 80% of everybody that listens to your program is going to say, you're smoking pot. I don't believe that. And I don't believe anything you people talk about on extraterrestrial. And it's going to kill what disclosure is trying to do. That's my opinion.
You know, the pedophilia is starting to be exposed everywhere. You know, that much is coming.
Oh, yeah. but you know the part that I don't want to talk about.
I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. It saying as much as you said right now is actually great.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you basically are, anyone who's hearing everything else you say is going to have to come to home with this. And if they want to know more, it's out there. It's more and more, it's out there.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to speak for Bob, but Bob Wood, Dr. Wood, who's worked with me on my book, okay?
Yes.
He's a genius. If we were in the conference room and we were talking and there was a big table there, he would have his fist like this and he would slam that table. I want every GD thing exposed. I want it all
Good for
out.
him.
Uh,
That's lovely to hear.
and I have to say, I'm having a hard time disagreeing with him, but
Well, we can do another interview on that subject so that, this one, it goes out, because I know you really want this information out. You want people to start to wake up, and we don't want to turn them off to any.
we don't want, you just said it. We don't want them to be turned off. We don't want them to not believe what's being said. Okay.
I know, but
And this,
yeah,
and some, we can get into it partially, but I'm saying, I personally don't want to be involved in doing what Bob wants to do. It's too heavy. I think it's gonna really hurt getting more people to get involved in this subject. Okay, they're gonna say Bill Tompkins is smoking pot. I don't believe one damn word. I don't want to hear about any of this. Okay, I don't want to hear about it.
My philosophy on this, which is humans are not protecting themselves. They're not protected. And so if you don't warn them, you're culpable. The next time somebody gets snatched and eaten or taken away, or their child, and I'm more concerned about the children, obviously, than anything else.
That's
That's
it. Well, that's what.
And so that's my statement. My statement is, I care about the children and I want to protect the children. How can you protect the child? You must tell them. You must tell their parents what's happening, what's really going on this planet. And it's about time we humans are able to protect ourselves. There's a lot of New Agers out there who want nothing but to believe that there's ETs, definitely, but they're all hearts and flowers and good guys.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this is such a dangerous thing to put out there, because again, you get humans that will not be able to protect themselves. That's and correct. Also not understand. Some people get the wrong idea about Camelot, but I'm actually in favor of the military. I know it sounds crazy, but I actually understand that we have a lot of military that are putting their lives on the line.
Yes.
In a daily basis to protect humans that have absolutely no idea that they're in danger.
You're right. Absolutely.
And that's got to change.
Yeah, it's got to change.
Yeah. So, I realize that people have no idea what a brave man you are.
Oh.
You are, I just wanted this statement made on my interview here, that the courage that it takes to actually do what you're doing right now is phenomenal. Really it is. See, I can get away with this because I'm a journalist and I can say anything and people say she's crazy and just not listen. But someone with your stature, with your reputation and your documentation and where you were and where you come from and all of that, this is substantial. I don't think people can ignore you. I don't think they can.
Well, I sure hope they don't. Because frankly, we need help.
Yeah.
We need everybody involved in this. That's not a lie. We need help.
Yeah.
The Navy had been involved with the German facilities in Antarctica and the Draco reptilian facilities in caverns in the Antarctica.
Now, let me interject. So that also coincides with the book of by Nas Confunding when he's talking about Beyond the Ice Wall, Worlds Beyond the Ice Wall, right? So, in Antarctica, right, you got many different types of Draconian reptilians. They go to different firmaments and different worlds and colonize lands and geographical land masses, right? So that's another book that you got to get the Nas confunding the worlds beyond the ice wall, because when you look at the book, you got different nomenclature titles of the word Draconian reptilians. They're really talking about custodians because they're basically one and the same.
And you have Draco reptilian guys running your governments
Right.
of every country on your planet.
Of every government. There you go.
Wow.
That's quite a statement.
You already said you got Draconian reptilians running your government, because when you go to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, it said the world be given to the hands of the wicked. And then when you go to Job chapter 9, verse 24, it says his wickedness at high places. So you can, twist it up from a theological, biblical context, and you can see how it basically aligns up with everything in your so-called Bible, because I told you, everything in the Bible is truth mixed with lies. So that creates an inversion to where you don't understand the whole concept of discernment, to where you don't have the ability to decipher good from evil, because it's being orchestrated by Draconian reptilians who control your religious systems.
Answer your question.
I'm sorry. That's not what we want to hear. When we got to the moon, we found out a lot of surprises, okay? The Draco reptilians were already there. And we knew, because we had probes when we went, non-manned probes that we sent around the moon. So we knew there were facilities on the backside. We knew a whole lot that people didn't talk about. But we were in a position where this moon is not a moon, okay? It's not your moon in the first place. Actually, this is not your planet. This is...
So let me interject for a second. So he said that moon is not a moon, right? So since that moon is not a moon, I'm going to show you something here. So when you go to this passage here, he said that moon is not a moon. What page is it on? So now this correlates to the sun cycle, right? Because the sun cycle is predicated around, when you look at the 24,000 year equinox, you got a sun cycle, which is the inception of the planet. Then you got a lunar cycle, another 6,000 years. Then you have another moon cycle, which we were getting out of the three-dimensional Piscean energy into the age of Aquarius. So now you're in the last sun cycle. So this is the last reincarnation phase, right? So the Draconian reptilians control the world through a patrilineal patriarchal system under a Piscean energy, which is the last 6,000 years. So that's why they said the devil's rule is his time is up. The mandated cap is at 6,000 years, because we're entering into a new Aquarian age, a new a solar system, a new solar order that's only conducive to people who are natural to the planet, right? So this also, it corresponds with astrotheology. It basically correlates to all forms of theology. This is all prophetic, and it's rooted in divine intervention. So that's why, you see all these calamities and everything that's happening on the planet, because the end of the patrilineal patriarchal system that was controlled by your reptilian government, right? Luciferianism is basically being wiped out by the intrinsic solar radiation of the planet. That's why you have all these sinkholes, because these sinkholes are basically being galvanized by hollow earth, because you got different layers of hollow earth inside the planet, right? So you got different levels. You got once you get to the core, when you get to Argartha and Shambhala, that's where you got the Danakil, and then you got different sub branches of the Anunnaki, of the Terus, and things of that nature. But when you get to the surface level of Hollow Earth, you got Draconian reptilians, and you got detrimental robotoids, right? So that's why you got all these sinkholes is and everything coming up, because a lot of these reptilians are gonna start coming to the surface right before the pole shift happens. So I'm gonna get back to that video. I think I messed it up, but we can get it back. Let me see. There we go.
Their laboratory. Okay.
Right. Okay, the Dracos, you mean, or the reptilians?
Draco reptilian / reptilian.
And I'm going to ask you what they all look like and all that, at some point.
Okay.
Because I know. Okay, let's get to when it was it Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, and he said that thing that you heard him say, and Michael wants to get real specific about this. So basically, there were 7 huge craft there, and you said on one of the shows out there, you said that the reptilians actually showed up beneath their craft, and they gave the finger.
Okay, they were parked around the side of the crater. Okay, they were not parked on it; they were floating above it. So there were hundreds of these 9-foot reptilian guys standing with their legs. Yeah, they were all the way across underneath their vehicles.
Okay,
standing on the crater.
And what do they look like?
They're ugly looking, lizard, alligator type people. They got the same skin as the lizards got. Okay, and terrible looking faces. But then they have the ability to shift and look like a human. All of them do. Okay?
Okay, do you think Von Braun was a reptilian?
No.
You really don't?
No.
Okay.
Your president, yes.
Oh, which one? George Bush Sr.? Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Bill Clinton and this guy who got rid of. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all were.
Right.
Okay. So when they all have this ability to make themselves look like real good looking people.
And you're saying Trump isn't one?
No, he's not. Okay.
Well, that's a relief.
And and he knows more about this subject than people realize.
Oh,
okay.
Excellent. Join the fight against the reptilians and Dracos that are basically plundering the galaxies, taking over planets, etc. And you've said something very similar.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I'm just saying that this is our situation.
And I guess that we should wrap this up. And I want to say thank you very
much.
Love
you.
Love you. And thank you for your service to humanity.
Okay. Appreciate it.
And I mean that from the bottom of my heart and the top of my.
So like I said, man, when you study ontology and paleontology, you can they show you a remnants of everything that's on the planet, right? Through monoliths and different megastructures. So Draconian reptilians are real. You just got to pay attention to the signs. Because like I said, they're able to materialize and dematerialize through obsidian energy that is controlled by the electrical grid. Now, when you go to this passage right here, like I said, when you look at prophetic theological context, when you go to Isaiah chapter 27, verse 1, it said, is that in that the day the Lord with his hard, great, strong word will punish Leviathan. The sleep spell of Leviathan, which is basically the sleep spell of King Gu, which is your moon in the sky right now. Because the original moon, Titan, that died 23 billion years ago. So it says Leviathan, the twisting serpent, he will slay the dragon that is in the sea. Revelation 12:9, and the great dragon was thrown down. That ancient serpent who was called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. That's why I told you everything is based on deception, and deception is the precursor to illusion. And when you live in a three-dimensional reality that's based on illusion, that creates fear under Hegelian dialectic principles, because you have a problem, reaction, then a solution that's usually diabolical, that puts you in a perpetual state of fear again, so where you cannot see beyond the three-dimensional matrix. So you could look at it every different way when you talking about biblical context, because they put the truth in it, but you gotta know enough knowledge to pull the truth out these books, these so-called spiritual books. Right. So now we're going to go on to, we're going to be talking about different extraterrestrials. All right. Now you got different types of extraterrestrials. So they, this is a part of one of Dr. York's publications. And when you're talking about the detrimental robotoids, the Dayros were grafted out of the Tayros. So these are Dayros. So this is where you get the whole concept of the pigs were grafted out of these beings right here when you're talking about Yakub. Because when you understand the inception of Caucasians and things of that nature, not to be intrusive or cynical, but they're basically a genetic anomaly. They don't have an homogeneous origin. So you got some that came from the Canaanite bloodline, right? Then you got some that was grafted on Mars, on Lamu. Then you got some that was basically grafted out of these beings right here. So these are the Dayrus, like I said, detrimental robotoid, to where these are diseased beings, and they have different diseases like trichinosis and things of that nature. So that's why the pig was grafted out of this being right here, because it's also connected to the Canaanite bloodline, which is the fourth seed of the Girgashite. The Girgashite is connected to the detrimental robotoid, the Dayru, these beings right here. So that's why you're not supposed to eat pork, because when you're basically eating pork, you're basically eating a human, so to speak. So these are the Tayro. The Tayro basically are security guards and police officers. They police these beings right here because these beings was grafted out of the pale version of these. So this is where you get the concept of the movie Coneheads, right? So this is where you get the whole allegorical story of the Coneheads. Where is it at? This is where you get your Conehead movie comes from. Where's it at? Yes. So when you're talking about the movie Coneheads, that's where they got this from. And you notice the garments, you know what I'm saying? Look at the garments. So when you look at some of Dr. York's illustrations, they're a direct emulation of some of these beings when you talking about the Anunnaki and things of that nature. So that's where they get these stories from. So you got the Dayro and the Tayro, right? And they come from planet Jamin and Arcturus star constellation, and they have 48 chromosomes. So that's why they have high kinetic telepathic ability. So that concept of a Fez was really created by these beings right here, because the Fez, it sends like a funnel of energy into the universe to where you can connect with the ethers. That's why they got a cone head, because they're tapped into the universal primordial source, because these beings right here, they was grafted out of the Danakil tribe. The Danakil tribe are the ones that was projected by the Anunnaki, and they went inside the surface of the earth, right? When you talk about hollow earth in Nargartha. Then you have these beings right here, the Dawanese. So if you ever watch Star Wars as a kid, this is where you get the concept of Ewoks. But in one of my videos that I put out maybe a couple months ago, I broke down the inception of these beings right here, because a lot of these beings, the Dawanese, they were basically gatekeepers of the planet Earth. They were gatekeepers of the pyramids In Egypt, they was gatekeepers of all the pyramids all around the planet, right? So, and they come from the Canis Major star constellation. And these are not malevolent creatures. You know what I'm saying? The Anunnaki created these beings for to be gatekeepers. They were the watchers of children, and I'm going to prove that to you. Because everything I told you, everything they put in the movies is a direct emulation of what has already been on the planet. That already happened. Like I told you, they are protectors of children. If anybody's seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. So these beings right here, they was always protecting the children from different, malevolent entities and Draconian Reptilians in the Star Wars children's movie, right? So that's how you know when you understand the dynamics of a sixth ether genetical being. A sixth ether genetical being doesn't have the ability to be innovative, to the ability to tap into the future. So in order to do that, you have to be tapped into the universal primordial source by way of your genetics. So everything they do is basically an emulation of everything that was already on the planet. So that's why, like I said, Draconian, this is how you know that these people are dealing with archons. Archons mimic everything of the original. They don't have the ability to create. The only people who have the ability to create are people who have non-ether genetical properties, because we connected to nature. So that's why, like I said, everything they got in their movies, none of this stuff is new in these movies. They're stealing information that was, based on ontology, paleontology, all throughout ancient history. They got the artifacts in the Vatican. So all these stories, these archives and everything that they put in these movies, these are all in CIA documents. They just look at these documents and they put them in illustration and they put it in the movies, and then they reap the benefits off of it. So they monetizing our history, because they are being controlled by archons who control the three-dimensional world. So but back to these beings right here, the Tayros are the police officers of these beings right here. Because like I told you, you look at these movies, man, you pay attention to the signs, you can see where the inception of everything on the planet happened. So the Tayros, they show you in this movie called Nothing But Trouble. Because these beings, they got two stomachs as well. So a lot of your overweight Caucasoids and things of that nature, they were grafted out of these beings right here. Because not everybody comes from the Flugelords. That was created from a genetic splicing process by Yakub. So I'm gonna go to. So this is where you're talking about the movie Nothing But Trouble. So this is an emulation of the Deru, the detrimental robotoids, right? The grafted devil. So these beings was grafted out of the Teru, right? And they had trichnomosis, because you understand the anatomy of these beings. They have the same texture and characteristics of a pig. So we get this out the way. And then, so also, this is where you get your whole concept of the Hindu god Ganesh, right? Because the Hindus was grafted out of the detrimental robotoids. So that's why, if you understand the elongated nose, when you look at the Dero, when you look at the elongated nose, that's where that whole theological concept comes from. It comes from that concept right there. So now we're going to go to. Now we already know who these beings are right here. These are the Anunnaki who came down to, the planet and jump-started humanity. So you got to go through all throughout my other videos, because I already broke down the whole the concept and the process of how the Anunnaki created everything in existence. Also look at that new tape that I just put out. Then you go to now you're talking about the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians are basically a sub branch of Ashtar Command. Ashtar Command, they were working with Hitler, during World War II, because they gave him electromagnetic power in order to create all of his technological devices to create flying saucers. That's why, he had the ability to take over the world, because he was channeling Pleiadians, because Pleiadians, they do the bidding of Draconian Reptilians, right? So not all Pleiadians are bad. You got black Pleiadians as well. So they come from the Aldebaran star constellation, and they come from the Pleiadian star constellation. And they inhabit Pleiades after the Anunnaki had left. So like I said, when you look at the Ashtar Command symbol, it's a direct emulation of what I forgot what they call them. It's that they're basically like a sub branch of the Nazis. When you're talking about the Aryan Brotherhood, when you look at the Aryan Brotherhood symbol, it's a direct emulation of the Ashtar Command symbol. So they got different bases on the dark side of the moon where they work with the Majestic 12, right? You got the Majestic 12, which is basically a compilation of reptilians, Zeta Reticulagrays, and Pleiadians. So they're being controlled by the Archons, who are Draconian Reptilians. So that's why the Pleiadians and the Greys, they have a contract with the Reptilians. So that's why everything, when you're talking about systematic racism, eugenics and Nazism and things of that nature, they are basically being controlled by Draconian Reptilians. So that's why eugenics, they use their system as a usurpation process to extract our soul and our energy, and to monetize our soul and our spirit through their conglomerate corporations on Wall Street, right? So that's why this system is based around economic disenfranchisement. It's based around dehumanization. So because that dehumanization is connected to you not knowing who you are. So you don't know who you are. You don't know your divinity. When you don't know your divinity, that's how they can basically put you in a state of physical subjugation, and you can kill yourself off the planet. So now they can extract all your organs and things of that nature to survive the pole shift that's going to happen by 2030. So like I said, these are 6 ether genetical beings, and they have the same, they have a pasty appearance, and their hair texture is recessive with blue eyes. So you have that, you have those beings right there. So I think I skipped some. Okay. Now these are the Flugelords, right? So don't confuse the Flugelords with the Canaanites of 4,000 years ago, which is the inception of the Bible. That's when the Bible was basically concocted in 4004 BCE, right? Which is approximately 6,000 years that's connected to the lunar cycle of the Piscean energy. So the devil's rule is up. So you got different types. You got different types of Caucasians. You got the Flugelords, then you got the Canaanites that was cursed with leprosy, then you got the detrimental robotoids. Then you got the ones that was also created on Mars. Then you also, like I said, then you got some whites that was created from the Teru. And the Terus, you know what I'm saying, they're not bad people, because those are the ones that the Anunnaki created. Right? They was created from the source of the Danakil tribe. So they live in the underground caverns of the planet in Hollow Earth. Like I said, you got different sections. So when you're talking about the Danakil tribe put these beings right here in slavery. So this is, basically the fathers of the Nordic race, and they live in the caverns of Antarctica. So you got those. You got the Flugelords. The Flugelords. Now these are, when you're talking about Argartha and Shambhala and Hollow Earth, these are the rulers of Hollow Earth that is ruled by King Fiorkor, right? So this is where where you get the whole concept of the Bible in the book of Genesis, which means genealogy of Isis, right? Which is the origins and production of something. These beings right here, when Yakub, this is where Yakub comes from. This is his bloodline. So the Nako are benevolent beings that Admiral Byrd encountered in the underworld, and they occupy the city of Shambhala. The Terus live in the city next to them, which is the Rainbow City. So they also have a sun inside the planet as well, which is 600,000 miles in diameter, right? So that's why you got all these calamities and everything that's happening on the planet. So then we're going to go to another. So now we're going to be talking about a little bit more of Hollow Earth. Where is it at? 37. So now, when you have these geometric pole shifts, these magnetic lines of force fields that's hitting the planet, like I said, that intrinsic solar radiation, is going to cause many different calamities. Like I said, it's causing all types of sinkholes on the planet. So all this is basically prophetic, which is why they had that 660-foot sinkhole that they just had in China about 3 months ago, right? So there's civilization inside the planet because everything inside the planet is pure hydrogen based. So that's why the plants are a lot bigger. The fruit is a lot bigger inside Hollow Earth. The animals is a lot bigger. You know what I'm saying? You can cut your motherfucking arm off, it'll grow right back because the hydrogen atmosphere has the ability for it to tap into the hydrogen atom that gives you the ability to regenerate quicker. Because like even when you look at it from a pharmaceutical aspect of it, what is peroxide? It's pure hydrogen. So peroxide has the ability to regenerate certain things on the planet. So like when you get a cut on your arm, you put hydrogen peroxide on it. It helps the skin heal a lot quicker. So the same thing when you live in a hydrogen-based atmosphere, everything is pure, intrinsic, organic radiation, and that organic radiation is what keeps you connected to the source, which is the black sun that's inside the planet. Yeah. So we're gonna go back to Hollow Earth. So these caverns on the planet, this is why, like I said, all these calamities and everything on the planet is happening because the magnetic pole shift, these magnetic lines, these force fields are starting to open up. That's why you're getting all these sinkholes and everything. So it says right here, how are the caverns able to power the caverns? No, how are they able to power these caverns? And they're basically talking about these energy centers inside the planet. So you got pyramids inside the planet in the city of Shambhala, and these pyramids are basically intrinsic forms of it's advanced technology. And the advanced technology is what keeps the intrinsic radiation from not from keeping Hollow Earth from overheating, because there's no such thing as time inside Hollow Earth. They don't have a system of orbitation inside their planet. It's always daytime. So that's how you know the vast majority of these beings inside Hollow Earth are so-called black people. There's no such thing. There's not a moon inside the planet. There's no such thing as nighttime. Where are we gonna go? Also, like I said, is the story of Rainbow City real? Rainbow City is a city in Shambhala. So like I said, it's approximately underneath Antarctica. So all these, these allegorical stories that you're talking about in the Bible and stuff like that, all this stuff is real, but people are just taking it for face value because they don't understand the dynamics of monotheistic belief systems that was compromised by the archons. So we're going to go to this book here. Like I said, you got to get this book right here. It's God and Extraterrestrial. To have an intuitive understanding of what the hell is going on. So go to page 82. And the vast majority of these books, man, like you cannot find these on the internet. The great majority of these books that, that I have, an elder, what I'm saying, they gave them to me. They sent them to me on email and PDF files and things of that nature. I didn't buy none of these books. So we're page 82. So like I said, you going into the reptilian, you got different forms of reptilians. Like I said, not all reptilians are bad, but the great majority of them, when you're talking about the archons. So this gives a deep dive when you're talking about, if you want to understand what the inception of Draconian Reptilians and what the hell is going on. So when you're talking about God, like I said, when you're talking about God, you're actually praying to the archons, which are Draconians. You're not praying to the Most High. So you got many different types of reptilians. See, these are the reptilian children of India. So you got the ostrich people in Zimbabwe and South Africa. Because they, they're a part of a grafting process that took place. Many different ones. Then you got the troglodytes, the Maldakians, who came from planet Valkon. So when the Biru crashed, because they also were part, these are the first your so-called grays. They crashed in the Bermuda Triangle. So that's why when they crash in the Bermuda Triangle, that's why, the vast majority of those people in that geographical landmass, a lot of them are short because they amalgamated with some of the Nubians there. So when you're talking about the pygmies and the black twas and things of that nature, that's why they're so short. So a lot of your, some of your oldest people on the planet are like, that tribe is like, anywhere from 4 foot to 5 feet tall. That's because they come from these beings right here, the troglodyte or the Maldakians. And then you got Zeta Reticular grays. There's a difference between, there's different types of grays. You got the grays that I was talking about, the Maldakians, they got 5 fingers. The ones that are malevolent have 4 fingers. And those are the ones that are controlled by Draconian Reptilians, the archons. So that's why they do many different genetic manipulations and things of that nature, because the genetic manipulation is for the eugenic system that controls this system that we're living in right now, the Matrix. So like I said, you got the first groups of grays that crashed and stood 4 foot tall and came down to the Bermuda Triangle and has been living there for 100,000 years. Other sets of grays were set from an advanced order and were working with Ashtar Command. Ashtar Command, when you're talking about Pleiadians, right? And the grays are most important. They understand the metaphysical aspect of crystals, and they're able to communicate with the ethers through the crystals. That's how, advanced in technology they was. So this, this broadcast was basically, predicated around the fact that I wanted to show people many different life forms on the planet, that there's many different extraterrestrial races. You got some that are malevolent, you got some that are benevolent, you got some that, you know, are disagreeable, you got some that are agreeable. So everybody, you know, when you got different types of reptilians, you got different types of rays. Not all of them are bad. It depends on what, it depends if they're being controlled by the archons or the Draconian Reptilians, because that whole Draconian system in itself is basically creates an inversion on the planet, which is the foundation of Luciferianism. So we live in a Luciferian totalitarian matrix that goes against nature, and that when you're going against nature, you're going against the natural people who come from the Anunnaki, your so-called black people, right? Or your so-called your non-ether genetical beings on the planet. So everything, you know what I'm saying, is working in synergy right now. So that's why, you know, you got to raise your vibration, have the spirit of discernment to deviate from certain things that's not natural to you. So with that being said, get this video out there, share this video. Thanks for watching. I'll be dropping again here shortly. Thank you.